So although 2019 is only halfway done, the fact remains that a lot of new designer fragrances have already been released this year. So what I'm going to attempt to do in this video is rank them from my least favorite to my favorite, so stay tuned. Now, before I begin the video, I just want to disclose that these are bottles that I have in my collection. There are, of course, some other fragrances that were released this year that I do not own. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, a lot of these that I don't own, that I do have samples of, I'm also going to include them in this video because, truth be told, there are just some fragrances that I don't care to purchase, but there are a lot of others on this list that I personally do love. I was really impressed by them, and hopefully this list changes by the end of the year. So I definitely look forward to updating this year in another 5 to 6 months or so. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get it started. No honorable mentions. We're just going to kick it off with number 10. So this is one that I purchased about a week and a half ago. I actually picked this one up at the Hudson's Bay Company up in Canada when I was visiting a friend of mine. And this one is Alien Man Fusion by Mugler. So I was a little bit underwhelmed or unimpressed with the original version. And I think the reason for that is because it seems like a very simple composition. It puts an emphasis on the note of dillweed. So I think it's meant to be a sort of aromatic composition. But the thing with this one is that it has an added coffee note, and it also has a little bit of leather in there as well. Now, personally, I don't get too much of the leather, and even the coffee note that's in there, it's only a whisper. It's super faint. And so I think had it been a stronger deviation from the original, something like Amen and Pure Coffee, then I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But the coffee in here is really tame. And when you're comparing it to other fragrances like Awake by Acro or Follow by Kerosene, those just really blow this one out of the water. But all in all, it's really because I wasn't impressed with the original DNA, but that's not to say that you won't like it. So definitely go out there and try for yourself. The next one on this list is one that I actually had the pleasure of reviewing recently, and it's by the company Gucci, and it's called Mémoire d'une odeur. Now, the name translates to memory of a scent or memory of a smell, and this one is a very light jasmine and musk-based composition with an added note of Roman chamomile. I do agree that it's a little grounding, it's a little meditative, but as I mentioned in my review, I wasn't really a fan of the CK1 types of fragrances, and that's kind of what they were trying to do with this one. They wanted to create a scent that was ageless, genderless. You can wear, anybody can wear this one. It's very inclusive and the whole nine. So the thing with this one is that it does sort of harken back to a lot of the fragrances released in the 80s and 90s that were sort of like the clean white florals. Some of the ones that come to mind are like Ataro Chrome, CK1, some of these CK1 flankers as well. And so that's not to say that I don't think it's a pleasant scent. I think it's a very pleasant scent. It's just not my style. I typically gravitate towards the gourmands and the fragrances that are a little bit darker, heavier, edgier, and this one just sort of didn't cut it for me. So Mémoire d'une odeur by Gucci. The next one on this list is one that I actually do enjoy. However, I can't say that I like this one as much as I like some of the other flankers from this house. And truth be told, this is one where I don't think I'm going to purchase a bottle of it. I did a first impression on my channel. If I remember to include those videos, I usually don't. But if I remember to include the videos, I'm going to put them down in the description if you're curious to know what I think about this one in a little bit more detail. But this one by Hugo Boss is called Boss Bottled Infinite. So truth be told, I am a huge fan of the original, which is an Anique Minardo composition. Came out in the 2000s, if I remember correctly. And that one kind of smells like an apple pie, like a cinnamon apple pie. And believe it or not, like this also has cinnamon and apple in it, but it has this olive leaf note that kind of brings it in the direction of Armani Code. And so with that being said, I mean, Armani Code is already pretty good formula and DNA to begin with, so I wasn't really interested in something that kind of went in that direction. I can see why they would do it as a flanker because they want to diversify the collection a little bit. They have one that smells like a Ventus, and of course they have the scent. Private Accord is a gorgeous fragrance, and I think the coffee and the chocolate note used in that one is a lot better than this one, just my opinion. But this one is one that didn't really interest me, and that brings us up to the next one. So the next one, in my first impression video of it, I kind of dubbed as the obligatory blue scent. And I certainly think that that's the case because even if you take a look at the bottle is blue, and a lot of the notes in there, like the clary sage, sort of evoke a clean sort of shower gel kind of a vibe. And so again, this is one that I only have a sample of it. I don't think I'm going to go out there and purchase this one just because it didn't really resonate with me. The original, on the other hand, amazing. And even the intense version or the extreme version, I forget the designation, I really enjoyed that one as well. But this one by Ferragamo, Salvatore Ferragamo, is called Uomo Urban feel. So this is the most recent flanker, and there have been a lot of flankers of this, and I've tried Casual Life. I've had the opportunity to review that one on my channel as well, and like I said, the original is my favorite. The Intense version has that added leather note, and perhaps a little bit of the sweet elements have been amplified somewhat, but personally with this one, it's sort of a fresh lavender, clary sage type of a scent. I'm not a very big fan of it. If I do want a blue scent, I'll probably wear Bleu de Chanel. I think that one does really well, incredibly versatile. You can wear it in a number of different seasons and occasions. You can wear it dressed up, dressed down. This one sort of caters to that same sentiment, but at the same time, I do think that it's a blue scent, and as I mentioned in my video, it can kind of get lost in the shuffle. It almost reminds me of something that Perry Ellis would put out, but I digress. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This one I also didn't purchase a bottle of. This one I actually borrowed a bottle from a friend so that I can review it. And this one by Montblanc is called Explorer. Now this one smells like Creed's Aventus. And so it was a combination of different perfumers that worked on this one. And personally, I just think it was too similar to Creed's Aventus. They saw that that was a DNA that was working, and it's familiar, and it gets compliments, and it resonates with people, and it's probably going to sell a lot. And so I think that this was certainly a cash grab, just an effort to make money through a fragrance. And I don't think it's a bad smell. I actually love the smell. And even when people approach me and they say, you know, what would you recommend, a fragrance on the market that gets compliments and this and that, I would probably recommend this one before I recommend Creed Aventus, because not everybody has $450 to shell out for an eau de parfum. But they could afford this one, especially if you're buying it online at a discounted price. So Montblanc Explorer, I think it's a wonderful scent. However, I'm just not going to purchase it because I have Creed Aventus. I have several bottles of it, and I have a lot of other Creed Aventus inspired fragrances, some that go in a woodsy direction, some that go in a fruity direction, some that go in this and that direction. So I really don't need another one to add to my collection, but hands down, I would recommend this to people. So the next one that I bought, I was actually quite impressed by, and I was also secretly very happy that they deviated away from the original DNA. This is a flanker, and this is Calvin Klein from An Eternity Flame. So I think this is, I don't know if it's going to be a short-lived trend, but a lot of flame flankers have been coming out as of late. Versace Eros Flame, Chanel No. 5 even came out in a limited edition red bottle. The thing with this one though, it has some of those sweeter elements that kind of modernize the DNA. It has a little bit of that lavender that you also get in the original, which is, I think, the most iconic ingredient in the original. And this is one that I've been wearing for many, many years, ever since I was in high school, to be honest with you. And I had a family member that wore this one a lot, would spray it in his car and everything. And so the thing with Flame is I like it, but in terms of the sweet appeal, I don't think it's as good as some of the other offerings like Azzaro Wanted by Night, or any number of other sweet fragrances that have hit the market as of late, even Bulgari Man in Black. And so anyways, this one is a really pleasant scent, and I personally rank it higher than the other fragrances in this list. So moving on, this one, composed by Alberto Morillas, is the, I think, 11th installment, if I remember correctly, and this is one that I personally enjoy. The only thing that I'm kind of a bit off about regarding this one, it doesn't smell anything like the original, and I think that if they had brought it in the direction of the original a little bit more, it might even been a little bit more appealing, albeit perhaps smelling a bit like Voyage d'Hermès, just because the original is very spicy and peppery. This one is very fresh and citrusy. So this one by the company Bulgari is called Bulgari Man Wood Neroli. So this one is a very fresh scent. If you've tried Neroli Portofino by Tom Ford, you probably have a good idea of how this one is going to smell, with the exception that it contains a lot of woodsy elements in here that I think do make the fragrance quite appealing. And it brings it in a more masculine direction, whereas Neroli Portofino and 4711 and those types of scents I think could be unisex, and they're also intended to be unisex. So this one I think is masculine, definitely leans a little bit more in the masculine territory, but all in all I think it's a wonderful scent, so definitely check it out. And we're starting to get into some on this list that I really, really enjoy. The next one on this list is one by the company Giorgio Armani, and this is the latest Code flanker, and this one of course is called Armani Code Absolute. So I really, really enjoy the smell. My only qualm with this one is that it's not too much different from Armani Code Profumo, in the sense that yeah, if you do a side-by-side, yeah, of course, certainly you will be able to pick up on the differences, but if you're smelling this one in the air, I don't think you're going to be able to pick up on much of a differentiation between the original and this one. So for that reason alone, this is one where I don't think I would recommend over Profumo. I think I would say go to the store and try both of them and just see off of the initial spray which one resonates with you more. But I do like the amplified vanilla note that's used in this one. Some have gone as far as calling it a gourmand Armani code. I don't think it's a full-blown gourmand per se, but I definitely think it has some gourmand elements lingering underneath. So now we're getting into the top two, and the number two fragrance really blew me away when I first tried this one. It's definitely of niche quality, and you're only going to end up spending like $29 for it. So as soon as I smelled it in the store, I was like, what am I smelling? I gotta buy this one. And then of course I went home and I looked it up, and a lot of the notes really resonated with me. It is a very dark, woodsy, peppery, spicy, sort of vetiver-based scent, and it kind of reminds me of like a Comme des Garçons, which is ultra niche, as I'm sure you know, even though Comme des Garçons is a Japanese designer, but it definitely smells of niche quality. And I also think it's a really good alternative to Tam Dao by Diptyque. So this one by the company Zara, of all places, is called Sublime Cedar. This is such an amazing scent. It has the peppery nuance, it's a little spicy. It almost kind of reminds me of something that Antoine Lee or Mark Buxton would create, almost in the vein of like Vetiver 46 by Le Labo, perhaps not as loud and not as strong. And that brings me to my next point. The only thing that I would change about this one is the longevity. I would concentrate this one a little bit more so that I get at least 5 or 6 hours out of it. This one I get like 3 or 4 hours out of, but for 30 bucks in a 100 ml bottle, I think it's 100 ml, you can afford to over apply or apply several times throughout the day with this one. But all in all, I think that this is a wonderful, wonderful fragrance, and very rewarding of my number two spot. So the number one fragrance that I've smelled of the 2019 releases, this is definitely something that I've been wearing so much this summer, and I have been thoroughly enjoying it. I think it's a nice take on the original, but bringing it into a more summer-friendly territory with some sort of coconut appeal to it. There's a little bit of saltiness in there to kind of remind you of like sun-kissed skin, and I really like what they've done with this one, and I think it's one of the best flankers, if not the best flanker that they put out. And so this one by the company Dolce & Gabbana is called Light Blue Sun. I love this one, and I'm actually really bummed out that this is a limited edition version, because this is one where I'm actually seriously considering stocking up on this one. You take the original light blue DNA, which is a compliment getter. It's very appealing. It's very friendly. It resonates with a lot of people. And then you add some summery elements like a suntan lotion vibe, a little bit of coconut, some tropical florals, very lightly concentrated so it doesn't smell feminine, and this salty oceanic overtone. What a hit. This is an amazing, amazing fragrance, and this is one that, my humble opinion, of all the 2019 releases that I've tried, including some that are not even in this list, this is the best one, or this is my favorite for 2019. And I'm not going to say it's the best one because, of course, scent is subjective. What I like, you may not necessarily like, and vice versa, which is why I always say trust your own nose, be your own judge, go out there and try it for yourself. So there you have it. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. These have been my top 10 favorite fragrances for 2019, ranked, I should say, because I don't love all of them. So if you own or have tried any of these fragrances, I would love to know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe for future videos, and of course that includes top 10 videos just like this, fragrance reviews, giveaways, unboxings, and a whole lot of other fragrance-related content. I would really love it if you could support my channel by subscribing to it. Thanks again for watching. I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.